Hi, welcome to Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending October 22nd, 2023. My name is Eric Stromquist. Glad you are here. Got a great guest this week. He has a company called Control Bright. They have a solution that I think you're going to be interested in. So we'll cut to him in just a second. But a quick reminder, Troy Harvey and the folks at Passive Logic have their big event coming up November 2nd. You can find out more about it on Control Trends or go to their website, passivelogic.com. And man, a shout out to Mark Peacock and all the people at LinkSpring. They got their big conference going on. Guys, have a great conference. Can't wait to hear all about it. Okay, so with that, let's get to this week's guest. Eric Stromquist here. I am so excited with all the data and all the devices we're connecting. Sometimes it can be a problem bringing it all together and managing it. But my guest this week, Chad Bailey, has a cool company and a great solution. The name of his company is Control Bright, controlbright.com. Chad, man, thanks for taking a few minutes to speak with us and tell us about your product.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I appreciate it.
Cool, buddy. Right off the bat, tell us about Control Bright. Give us the 10,000 foot view, and we might go 20, or we might just start drilling down after that.
Sure, yeah. So I founded the company back in 2017. Originally, we were building cloud-based DMX control products, specifically for multi-site use. For example, if a college campus or a retail store, they want to be able to have architectural lighting that they can control remotely. We built those systems, and we saw success with that, and we started getting other inquiries. Can you take that same sort of approach and apply it to existing lighting controls from other manufacturers? So in 2019, we set out to build that, and we started deploying it in early 2020. And since then, it's exploded in popularity, really, in our little niche. We've been focusing on the lighting industry, but we're starting to get more and more into the building automation and industrial automation type markets. And so that's where we're headed to next with it.
Very cool. Very cool. Tell me, how'd you get in the business? Give us a little background on you. How did you get involved before you created Control Bright?
Sure. Yeah. So I founded a tech company back in 2005. We developed a very unique fax over IP protocol and technology. It was used very heavily in oil and gas, mining, motion picture, and we built that company up, and I sold that in 2015 to a foreign public company up in Canada, actually. And I took a little bit of time off, and that's how I got into Control Bright. I did a couple of things, did some consulting, and just decided that I needed to get back into the entrepreneur type approach and started Control Bright.
I got to ask, the name is so cool. Tell me, is there a story behind the name?
A lot of people ask that, and to be perfectly honest, the domain name was available, and so that's how we came up with it.
So have you always been an entrepreneur? I mean, were you like when you were a young kid, had the newspaper, the lemonade stand, or were you like fixing people's computers when you were in high school and stuff like that?
Yep. So I've been an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember. I used to sell suckers in elementary school. And as I got older, I started to modify game consoles during college. And then I started to fix printers for a large clothing company out of Duluth here. And that's how I leapfrogged into all these different endeavors.
Because rumor has it, being from Duluth, that you were Bob Dylan's bass player for a while. Is any truth to that rumor?
Yeah. He lived just down the road. Not much of a musician myself.
Chad, so Duluth, interesting place. So what's it like living in Duluth?
Yeah, and to clarify for the audience, it's Duluth, Minnesota, not Duluth, Georgia. But yeah,
that's down in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's cold, and I like to tell people when the world ends, I want to be here because that means we have 7 more years.
Nice. And maybe that whole Game of Thrones thing, winter is coming, and in Duluth, winter is here and it's never leaving.
That's right.
Well, awesome. So the idea that sort of came together because the Internet of Things is a relatively new phenomenon in the world, right? Where we start connecting devices and so on and so forth. So without the Internet of Things and without data and data analytics, is there even a need for something like Control?
Yeah, there's really 2 big parts to the to that side of our business. The first one is, like you said, activity, getting data from one place to another. So even if that went away, the other large part of our business is remote access, allowing manufacturers, reps, technicians to gain access into systems without physically having to fly or drive there. That's really that's how we began. But as you alluded to, we're seeing a lot more connectivity and data transfer type requirements that we didn't see when we first started.
No, and it would seem, Chad, too, that one of the trends we track at Control Trends a lot and have for years is cybersecurity and the importance of it. Anytime you have a data point or you're trying to remote access something, you're potentially vulnerable. So is it a fair statement to say by working with somebody like you have one access point that you're going to multiple locations? So does it then vis-a-vis make it a little more cyber secure or more cyber secure?
Yeah, so that's the benefit to a product like ours is the customer does not have to allow third parties onto their network. We provide the hardware, the cellular connectivity so that any remote user cannot access the customer's network. There's that air gap. All they can do is access whatever our device is plugged into. And that kind of eliminates a lot of the attack vectors that otherwise might be present if the customer allowed a third party onto their own network.
Yeah, no, it makes so much sense because you got another set of eyes on it. Chad, I'm thinking one application might be retail stores that have multiple locations, like, for example, Target or McDonald's or Burger King or anybody that's got multiple locations, because it's important to have data to be able to manage those sites. And it seems like the alternative to a solution like yours is you're going to have pretty much VPN to every single one of them. Whereas with you, it seems like it's one point, pretty much an infinite number of locations. Is that a fair statement?
Yep, that's correct. So Walmart is a good customer of ours. We have a lot of devices deployed in Walmart stores around the country, and a lot of people may or may not know that the lighting in Walmart is smart lighting, and it can track assets. For example, shopping carts. It can track forklifts, things like that. And it can also track people walking through the door. They may not know who you are, but they know, okay, there's a person there. They can map out hotspots as people flow through their stores. There's a lot of data that's getting generated specifically from the lighting. And all of that has to get processed somewhere. So the lighting controller on site has to take all that data and then push it somewhere for processing. And that's where we come in, is we provide that conduit so that data can get into the cloud somewhere for processing. But also if there's maybe an issue or if there's an update that has to be done, we provide the framework. So either the manufacturer or Walmart themselves can connect and say push out updates to a subset of their stores, or get into a store that's not functioning properly and do some troubleshooting and things like that.
That is so cool, because I think getting back to the HVAC side of it, Chad, which is where I pretty much came from, it's, you could imagine a school system, for example, and all of a sudden there needs to be a shutdown because of weather or whatever, right? It seems like you could push the set points out to all the schools, where the individual schools are all at the right set point now without having to do it individually. It's so cool because, again, efficiency is the name of the game. And if you got the data, you need to be able to use it. But what I'm hearing you say is getting it up to the cloud or wherever they want to process the data is part of what you guys do, right? And then once they make determinations, then you send it back down to where it needs to go. So you get like the middleman, for lack of a better word.
Correct.
You're like a distributor of data.
Yeah. Yeah, an arbiter.
And can you work with anybody's system, or do they have to have a specific sort of way of doing things?
Yeah, no, we can work with any system. Any IP-based device is our bread and butter. We do have functionality built into it where we can tunnel RS-232 and RS-485 from our device through our cloud and to the end user's PC, so that if they need to run some RS-232 commands remotely, they could do that through our platform. We also have what we call our mini PC, which is a very small Windows 10 professional-based computer. It's probably 2 inches wide by 6 inches tall and maybe an inch thick. It's very slim. That clips on to our modem. We call it our football. And through our platform, we provide browser-based RDP client so that users can gain access to that Windows PC. For example, if there's certain software that needs to run locally on a Windows computer, we can run that on the mini PC and the user can access that remotely and do what they need to do.
Very cool. So you primarily work with lighting manufacturers, which makes a lot of sense. Do you work with any of the building automation control vendors as of yet?
So we work with some of their reps. For example, we work with some Delta Controls reps. We work with a lot of Distech reps. And we also work with a number of major OEMs. We're the manufacturer of the Hubbell NXAC2 series lighting controllers.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, we also embedded our remote access technology inside of that device. We're working on a press release now, but we just want to deal with Acuity Atrius. They are now starting to integrate our remote access technology inside their panels. And so those will be deployed to a lot of their fleet customers, the big box retailers, the airports, hospital systems, manufacturing facilities, things like that.
So when they do that, I'm sorry for interrupting. So with Acuity, for example, if they do that, now it really is plug and play, right? You're just hooking the connection up because the hardware of the football, if you will, is already in the panel. Is that?
Exactly. So when the customer buys the panel, it'll have the football baked into it, and then they have the option. I don't know how Acuity is going to do that, but they have the option of enabling that remote access and connectivity piece to it to get that data in and out and to allow remote access into the systems.
I would think every major control vendor and equipment vendor would want to have this as an option, right? It just makes it really clean, it seems.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of companies doing similar things like this. There's a lot of remote access systems out there, a lot of organizations manufacturing and selling modems and that sort of thing. I feel like we've taken it to the next level in terms of ease of use and functionality. And I think that's why we're winning some of these larger deals, is because our value proposition is really unique versus what else is out there on the market.
That sounds great. And I don't want you to, give away any trade secrets, but normally when I hear value, I think it's just going to cost me a whole lot more. Are you guys in line with the other solutions, or are they paying a huge premium or a little bit of a premium to get your value? Typically?
Yeah, no, we're actually on par with the market, if not cheaper. We don't charge a large premium to what we do. And again, I think that's another reason why these companies are turning to us, is because they can keep doing what they're doing today, or they could spend the same amount and get significantly more functionality than what they currently get from their current vendors.
Yeah, almost like a turnkey, it sounds.
You
can go build it. I think of an example of buying, for our HVAC techs out there, buying something like a functional devices panel where everything's pre-wired and in there, and you're just running power to it and then output to it. You pay a little bit more for that versus having to build your own, which you could do. But what I hear you saying is it's like you'd have the functional devices pre-wired panel, but you're going to pay the less or the same of building it yourself. So That seems like a pretty great value proposition right there.
Yeah, and that allows you to drop ship the device from the distributor right to the job site. You don't have to bring it into your office and try to get all the equipment together and wire it all up and then get it out to the job site. You can just, place the order. It's already baked in. And that's the approach that we're looking to take, is to embed ourselves within the manufacturers so that it's just included in their panels, in their boxes, that kind of thing, because it just makes it easier for everybody, the customer, the distributor, the manufacturer. It's just, here's the SKU and this is what you get.
Oh, cool. That sounds, so for a vendor out there, so we got a controls vendor out there that maybe is doing their own, or, is not really offering that solution. They hear this interview, which they probably will. Walk them through the process of getting involved with your company.
Yeah, it's as simple as just dropping us a note, giving us a call. We can walk through what kind of platform that you use, if it's a Niagara type approach, or if it's an x86 approach, or a PLC or something like that. We've got a large lab that has lots of different control manufacturers, lots of different styles of controls that we constantly do compatibility testing with, just to make sure that our solution will work with it. And we'll send samples out, work with your team to get users set up, get devices deployed. We like doing real world scenarios. So our first question is always, do you have problematic sites that you're constantly flying texts out? Let's get this out there because this will prove or show the value of what it is rather than just putting it in the lab and playing around with it. We find that getting it on real world job sites is really good.
So it makes most sense. And then I'm assuming you mentioned OEMs earlier. So then if brand X, who's got to build an automation control system, goes, yeah, we want to work with you, then it would be you put their brand X on the football, right? So it'd be quote unquote their football coming through you.
Yep. We can rebrand the portal side of it. We can rebrand the hardware itself. We have different levels of support we can provide to your customers. We can really tailor it to what you're looking for. And I would definitely encourage you, even if you have a current solution today, whether you go through a third party or you've rolled your own, I would say it's definitely worth a 20 or a 30-minute call for us to show you how we do things differently and just really demonstrate what makes us different.
That's cool. And what I love about it, you said, was a call. Coming to Duluth in January is optional, right?
Yeah, I would not recommend it. If you're down south, I'm more than happy to take a run down. I'll tell you that.
You mentioned, for example, the Delta dealers you've been working with, for example. So for our systems integrators out there that maybe their control manufacturer doesn't have this solution, but they want to use it for some of their jobs, and let's just say they're not Delta dealers, maybe they're handling another brand, Honeywell, Johnson, or whatever. Walk them through the process of, first of all, would this product be available to them, and walk them through the process of how they would work with you.
Yeah, it'd be pretty much the same thing, except the only difference really is everything would be branded Control Bright. We would work with them directly, and we would get their tech set up, get their billing in place, and off to the races. It's a really simple process. This isn't a long, drawn-out process where you have to have all this infrastructure in place. Basically, just give us a call and say, hey, want to order a couple footballs. It's really that simple.
And I think, too, just being from the distribution side and knowing how that works, I'm sure that the more people you set up, the more expensive it can get, right? So I would think if you're a systems integrator out there and your vendor does not handle the football, Control Bright, that maybe a good move would be to reach out to your distributor or the manufacturer and say, hey, I saw this interview on Control Trends. This is a product that I think would really help us sell more of your product. How about calling Chad and getting this set up?
Yep, and that's a really good approach. That's how we've approached the market up until this point. Is if you start getting the reps excited, then that kind of funnels up to the OEM, because if the reps are happy, then the OEMs kind of want to know about that and what's making their life easier. Because if you make the reps' life easier, you sell more product. That's it at the end of the day.
Which sounds great, Chad. Anything else you want to tell us about the product before we hop off here?
Yeah, no, I will say that we are in the process of pushing a release. We're probably Q1 of 2024. And for some of you technical folks out there, we have designed and built a hybrid layer 2, layer 3 solution where you get all the benefits of a layer 3 connection to a remote site, discovery, broadcast, things like that, with all the drawbacks of all the data usage, the chatter, that sort of thing. And that is going to truly be a game changer out in the market for remote access systems. We've been working on it diligently for about a year now, and we're finally getting close to getting it released. And we're pretty excited about that. I think that's really going to increase the functionality of our platform significantly.
Oh, Chad, that's exciting. Very exciting. Chad, what's the best website for people to find out more about Control Bright?
Yeah, hit us up, controlbright.com, BRIGHT. We don't do much social. We don't do much Twitter. We don't do a little bit of LinkedIn. So yeah, definitely hit our website. We've got a contact form there with a phone number. A live person will answer. And just drop us a note and we'd be happy to help you out.
Okay. Chad, when we get a new product like yours, at least new to my audience, I'd like to play a little game called Let's Make a Deal. Are you down with playing Let's Make a Deal with the Control Trends audience?
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking, Chad. I'll create a sign-up form in Control Trends on the site. There'll be a link. They sign up. They give you their email address. Okay. They don't have to give a phone number, just their email address, company name. And you got to promise you only email them twice a year, not more than
perfect.
that. Is that it? Unless with that? Okay. And for that, Chad, for that valuable information, what will you offer the Control Trends audience?
We will do 20% off your first purchase, your first deployment on both the hardware and the cloud side of things.
My goodness, Chad, that is wonderful. Okay, so I will create that form, and the link will be in the show notes. Fill it out. Chad, man, that's very generous. Got nothing to lose here. And I'm sure if they want more information, they could schedule a Zoom call with you or something like that and go through it. Or they could even come to Duluth in January, right?
Yep. Welcome.
You and Bob, only two people up there. All right, Chad, man, thank you so very much, Chad. Really appreciate it. That's Chad Behling from ControlBrite.com.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate the time. Thanks all.
Okay, there you go. That's another week on Control Talk Now, your smart buildings videocast and podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant. As Hunter Thompson used to say, buy the ticket, take the ride. As Kenny Smyers used to say,